Hey everyone, how's it going? Azrin here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds, and welcome to today's Learn Gujarati with Me podcast episode and YouTube video. We have lots of things that we're going to cover off today, so buckle your seatbelt and buckle your seatbelt. Get ready for the ride. So the first thing I want to take you through, the first two things actually, are more related to language learning theory, and the second one is, and the third thing we're going to do is like some Gujarati practice. We're going to do like some really good immersive Gujarati practice today. But first, a little bit of language learning theory. I'm going to share my screen and show you an internal memo that I wrote for Calgary Language Nerds tutors. I posted it publicly, frankly, because I think people find it interesting. It'll help other people, other tutors, right? So one of the things that I do that's really different when it comes to teaching languages, I think I'm the only person who does this, is I rely on quantitative progress tracking. So in the fitness industry, in school, and in business, right, we actually rely on quantitative progress, right? In school, we get grades and GPA, and they have so many things they track, right? In fitness, calories, heart rate, macros, BMI, there's many metrics. In business, lots of numbers. It's very common in many industries, but it's not common in the language learning industry. When you have quantitative progress tracking, it replaces vague feelings of I'm getting better with real evidence. You identify what habits and strategies actually work. You get more motivated, more accountability. It allows you to set goals very accurately and predict future incomes. And it's just really uncommon. If any of you have ever had a tutor before, you'll know it's very uncommon. Maybe even it could very well be I'm the only one on earth who does it. I don't know. But boy, is it uncommon to have tutors who use quantitative progress tracking with their students. It's not the norm by any stretch of the imagination. So I want to briefly walk you through what are some of the main skills, what kind of order of assessment do we use, why that matters, how each skill is tied together, and also talk about emotional fluency. I promise this will be really worth it for you. It'll help you understand, this will help you understand how you should be studying Gujarati with my videos, with your other resources, with your family. This should help you to understand what kinds of things you should be focused on as you get better in this language. So the first thing I always assess is active vocabulary size. Active vocabulary is so important because if you have a high vocabulary size, it makes your listening better, it makes your speaking better, and it often even makes your grammar better as well, just by having a larger vocabulary size. The best ways to increase your vocabulary size are to read more or do more active listening. Active listening means like pay attention while you listen, look up unfamiliar words. Don't just listen in the background like many of you might be doing right now, right? You're listening in the background, which is fine. That's called passive listening. Active is when you sit down and listen and like really look up stuff you don't understand. So this is the most important thing, and it's always the first thing I ever assess with people. It's really, it's probably the most important thing. If you tell me someone's active vocabulary size, if that's the only thing I know about you, I probably know what level you have in every facet of your language. I can probably estimate your grammar accuracy. I can probably estimate how well you speak. I can probably estimate your listening comprehension. I can estimate maybe even your pronunciation, frankly. I can tell you a lot just by vocabulary. It's so powerful. It's so important. So we have to do lots of listening and lots of reading because those are your two fastest and your best ways to increase your vocabulary size. I cannot stress enough how important this is. Furthermore, here's something really wild. If you just listened and read a lot, you probably would develop a lot of speaking abilities too. And I never believed that in the past. I thought people would tell me this. There's a lot of language learning research that points to that. And I never believed it. I always thought, what? How can you listen and read and get better at speaking? That makes no sense. You need to speak to get better at speaking. No, not really. In most cases, no. In most cases, you just need to listen and read more. That increases your vocabulary size, and that naturally transfers over to speaking. I experience this in Ukrainian. I'm learning Ukrainian. And in Ukrainian, I went through like 6 months of not speaking. I literally just like read, listened. And then I talked to someone in Ukrainian. I was so nervous. I was like, this is going to be an absolute this is not going to work. This is going to be a problem. Like, I haven't talked to anyone in 6 months. And that conversation was the best I'd ever had. Why? Because my vocabulary had increased so much from listening and reading. So most important thing is increase your vocabulary, which happens through reading and listening. The next thing I always assess is speech rate. Now, speech rate is kind of like it's a measure of oral fluency. You can measure it out with words per minute, frankly, in a casual one-on-one conversation. A normal speech rate is one level below one's active vocabulary size. So if your vocabulary size is intermediate, your speech rate is your oral fluency is probably going to be upper beginner. So if you, and the big learning point here is that most of the time, if you think speaking is hard, you don't have a speaking problem, you have a vocabulary problem. If you simply read and listen more and increase your vocabulary, your oral fluency, which shows up as a speech rate calculation, will increase and you'll feel more confident. As another fun fact, confidence is best measured with speech rate. That's a very good measure of confidence. Generally speaking, when someone feels more confident, they have a faster they have a faster speech rate. When they feel less confident, they have a slower speech rate. It's something very interesting I've noticed, at least for language learners. When you have native speakers, it might actually be the opposite. When you're nervous, you might speak really fast as a native speaker, but it's the opposite for language learners. For language learners, slow speech rate tends to indicate less confidence. Faster speech rate tends to indicate more confidence. The best way to increase your confidence, aka your speech rate, they're synonymous. Increase your active vocabulary. We increase your active vocabulary by listening more and reading more. The third thing I look at is grammatical accuracy. We're not going to dig into this too much. Most of the time, it's actually pretty easy to increase grammatical accuracy. It's not that hard. You get a good tutor, like you can really increase your grammatical accuracy relatively quickly, provided that you have a decent vocabulary size and a decent speech rate, aka a decent level of like fluidity when you're talking. Grammar, tenses, and cases, just another aspect of grammar. We're not going to talk about that. There's other skills I might look at too, like pronunciation and comprehension rate. There's a lot of other stuff too. We're not going to touch that. It's not important for today. The final thing, which is very important, is emotional fluency. It's a term I created. Emotional fluency, I'll tell you a story. There's probably a 1-year period where all I really focused on with the students I personally taught, all I really focused on was the objective side of progress. Numbers, are you getting better objectively, measurably, like on paper, are you getting better? And like, it felt very scientific, right? And what I found is that just because someone gets better on paper, it doesn't mean that they feel like they got better. And so it's important to make sure that you're connected with the language learning journey, that the internal experience of you learning Gujarati is enjoyable. It's you're motivated, you're engaged, you feel like you're getting better, even if it's just incrementally better, right? You should be noticing an increase in confidence in your abilities. It's not just about all the math, for example, and all the measurement. It's also the emotional experience that you have. Like, that's also a very, very, very important piece of the equation. So I think hopefully this helps you out a little bit. This first part of today's lesson, I want to share this with you because, again, the main thing just to take away is just how important active vocabulary size is, because active vocabulary ties into your speech rate. Speech rate is a measure of confidence. Speech rate is a measure of speaking ability. Speech rate is a raw measure of fluency when you're talking, right? And it's directly influenced by your vocabulary size. Your vocabulary size also has an indirect impact on your grammar and your indirect impact on your grammar. It even sometimes, although not always, but sometimes has an indirect impact on your pronunciation, your comprehension, like on so many things. And so I think the main thing to really take away is just how important it is to be doing especially at this phase in your journey. Lots and lots and lots of listening and reading is going to help you tremendously. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Now we're going to dive into the actual Gujarati portion of today's lesson. I feel like I had one more theoretical thing to take you through, but I can't remember it. And so we're just going to let it go. Okay. We're just going to let it go and dive into the Gujarati portion of today. So for the Gujarati portion of today, we're going to do an immersive lesson. I'll be speaking to you only in Gujarati and really slowly, but only in Gujarati. And at the very end of the lesson, I will kind of break down in English again what I said to you in Gujarati. All right. તો હું એક એપ્લિકેશન વાપરું છું. આ એપ્લિકેશનનું નામ છે લિંક. તો આજે હું આ એપ્લિકેશન વાપરતો હતો એટલે શું? એટલે કે I was using this. હું આ એપ્લિકેશન વાપરતો હતો આજે. ને મને એપ્લિકેશનમાં મને આ મળ્યું. ઓકે. તો અહીંયા લખેલું છે અમદાવાદમાં મિની વાવાઝોડું. અમદાવાદમાં મિની વાવાઝોડું. વાવાઝોડું શું છે? વાવાઝોડું એટલે તોફાન, વાવાઝોડું એટલે કે સ્ટોર્મ. તો અમદાવાદ એક શહેર છે, જેમ કે લંડન એક શહેર છે, કેલ્ગરી, સેન ફ્રાન્સિસ્કો, લંડન, કેલ્ગરી, પેરિસ, મુંબઈ, વડોદરા, અમદાવાદ, આ બધા શહેર છે. તો અમદાવાદ એક શહેર છે. ઓકે, શહેર એટલે કે સિટી. તો અમદાવાદમાં મિની વાવાઝોડું. સો એટલે કે અમદાવાદમાં એક તોફાન છે, એક વાવાઝોડું, મિની વાવાઝોડું, એક નાનું, એટલે બહુ મોટું, નાનું. ઓકે. તો પવન સાથે અનેક વિસ્તારમાં વરસાદ. પવન શું છે? પવન એટલે કે વિન્ડ. પવન સાથે અનેક વિસ્તારમાં. અનેક એટલે શું? અનેક એટલે ઘણા, એટલે બહુ વિસ્તારમાં, ઘણા વિસ્તારમાં. વિસ્તાર એટલે કે એરિયાઝ, એટલે કે ઘણા વિસ્તારમાં, અનેક વિસ્તારમાં વરસાદ એટલે રેઇન. ઓકે, વરસાદ. અને અહીંયા લખેલું છે કે હા, એટલે પવન સાથે વરસાદ, પણ એક ભારે પવન છે. ભારે એટલે શું? આ પેન છે, પેન ભારે નથી. હેડફોન્સ ભારે નથી. પાણીની બોટલ ભારે નથી. તો ભારે એટલે બહુ ભારે, એટલે હેવી, એટલે ભારે પવન, એટલે very heavy wind, એટલે એક મોટો પવન, એક ભારે પવન, like a very big wind, ને એક heavy wind, એટલે ભારે પવન. ફોન વાગે છે મારો. Okay, anyway. તો ભારે પવન સાથે વરસાદ પડે છે. અને અમદાવાદમાં થાય છે, એટલે ગુજરાતમાં થાય છે. અને એકચ્યુઅલી મને લાગે છે કે ત્યાંથી let's see. વાંચું એક સેકન્ડ. ઓકે. અને કચ્છ શું છે? કચ્છ એક વિસ્તાર છે, એક જગ્યા છે ને ગુજરાતમાં. ત્યાં કચ્છમાં લખેલું છે કે કરા સાથે વરસાદ પડે છે. કરા સાથે. કરા એટલે શું? કરા એટલે hail, એટલે કરા સાથે વરસાદ પડે છે. And actually, I think that's probably a good place to end. I was going to read a bit more of this. That's probably enough, honestly. So we still need to break it down, make sure you understand. So, okay, let's break down what I said. So first I said, let me actually clip this here. Then I can use both my hands and we can type. I can type the words for you so you can actually have a visual and see how things are spelled and so on and so forth. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let me share my screen. And I'll kind of repeat, roughly speaking, what I said. So I said, okay, text box, perfect. So I said that હું એક application વાપરું છું. Vapru chu means I'm using. So I'm using an application. Hu ek application vapru chu. I'm using an application. Application nu naam che link. So the name, oops, naam is not spelled like that. Naam. Application nu naam che link. So the name of the application is link. Everything that I'm writing here, we've covered this for the most part in the grammar lessons. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the comments or just email me. You can always go to azrinthelanguagenerd.com/contact. You can just email me there. That's also an option. Okay, azrinthelanguagenerd.com/contact. AZ or ZREN, thelanguagenerd.com/contact. You can just email me there too. That's always an option. Okay, anyway, so application nu naam che link. Then I said, what did I say after that? I said, Aje hu a application vapar to hato. Hua aje hua application vapar toto. Vapar toto is the past tense of vapruchu. So I was using this application. Today I was using this application. Aje hu a application vapar to hato. Vapar to. As a reminder, vapar to hato, when we talk, usually sounds like vapar toto. So we kind of drop that ha. And then I said, I think I said this anyway. I put this on, I showed you my screen and I said, Mane a mariu. I think I said that. Mane a mariu. So mariu means found, right? So I found this. Now, mane a mariu, with the word mariu in Gujarati, like to find something, right? They're found in this case in the past tense. In Gujarati, things find you. So mane a mariu. So mane means like to me or me. So this thing found me. It's kind of like saying something like that. Mane a mariu. And then I started to read it to you. So I said, Ahmedabad. And actually, I explained what Ahmedabad is. I said, Ahmedabad ek sheher che. And then I explained to you what sheher means. I said, London ek sheher che. Paris ek sheher che. I said, Calgary sheher che. I said, what else did I say? Mumbai sheher che. Right? So sheher is a city. C-I-T-Y, city. Okay. So I gave you a whole bunch of examples of cities in case you didn't know the word for city. Like sheher che. Then I said, Ahmedabad ma mini va joru. So Ahmedabad mini vava joru. This is like a headline. It's a news headline. I actually don't know how old the news headline is. I just found it in the app. Like it could be recent, could be not recent. I have no idea. Maybe it's happening right now. I have no idea. So mini vava joru. This is a mini storm. Vava joru is a storm. Another word for storm, another kind of similar word is tofan. Means pretty much the same thing. Fun fact about tofan. It's a funny little, funny like secondary meaning of tofan. I don't know if all Gujaratis say this, but my family said this growing up. They would say things like "e tofan kare che," which means like he is doing the storm. And you're like, what does it mean he's doing the storm? How does that make sense? Well, if someone is doing a storm, it means they're like misbehaving. They're being naughty. They're running around, right? They're causing a storm, right? They're causing a ruckus. Tofan kare che. So my family would say that pretty regularly. Not so much about me. I was a pretty well-mannered kid, but other people in the family. So Ahmedabad mini vava chodu. So mini storm. Then I said, Pavan, and this is also part of the headline, Pavan sathe anek vistar ma barsad. I think I changed the sentence a little bit. I think I said barsad padeche. I think I said that. So Pavan is wind. Sathe is with. So with the wind. Anek is another word for like ghanu or bow, kind of a similar meaning. So many. So pavan sathe anek vistarma. So with the wind in many vistar. Vistar is an area. So in many areas, varsad padeche. Varsad is the rain. Padeche is falling. There was a sentence, actually, I'll read it to you here. Let me find it. Let me see here. I didn't read it to you initially, but I'll read it to you now. Um, Here it is. I'll just read you this last section, this last few words. There's even something here like varsad varsio che, right? Varsad varsio, varasio. Sorry, not varsio. Varasio. Actually, I'll leave that out. It's okay. Well, let's leave that out. Actually, don't worry about that. I'll take that back. Let's just stick to what I said. Anyway, so the next thing I read you about was I read you what kind of pavan it is, right? Because pavan સાથે અનેક વિસ્તારમાં વરસાદ પડે છે. But what kind of pavan is it? I said it's a bhare pavan. So bhare pavan સાથે વરસાદ પડે છે. So bhare pavan means a heavy, it literally means heavy wind. Bhare means heavy. But in this case, obviously you can't have a heavy wind. So it just means like a really powerful or a big wind, right? And I was giving you lots of examples. It's like pen bhare nathi, pani ni bottle bhare nathi. Like I was showing you, these are things that are not heavy, right? But a bhare pavan che, right? Like it is a very heavy wind. And the last thing I read you, I think it was the last thing anyway. I read you just what Kutch. So Kutch is like a region of Gujarat. And I read you, let me find the line. Here it is. I said Kutch માં કરા સાથે વરસાદ પડે છે. So kara is hail. So it's not raining. It's not just raining. It's like raining. It's like with the hail, there's also rain. So it's like rain and wind, rain and hail. Things are crazy in Gujarat. Lots of rain, lots of crazy weather going on. So, okay. And that's pretty much all I read you from that article. Okie dokie. It's a pretty high level article, frankly. Like it's pretty difficult. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, let's wrap that up there. Thank you very much for watching today's lesson. Hope this is useful and interesting for you. And I guess we'll chat later. Aujo, bye.